Hi, today I want to talk about a couple of things. The first is redundancy and how we can seek to avoid it or at least minimise negative consequences and impact upon people that are made redundant. Now, larger organisations are at the moment announcing the prospect of large scale redundancies in their organisations, in their companies. And this is going to have an impact on those of us are engaged in smaller businesses and enterprises. We know that what's going to happen after this COVID-19 crisis is not going to be a V-shaped recovery. We're going to be entering into a recession. Indeed, there's no doubt we're already well on our way to that. And it looks like that recession could be even worse than the 1930s Great Depression, which resulted in many jobs being lost and people being desperate for employment. We don't want to go into that situation again. And what I think is important is that smaller enterprises, businesses, charities are aware that we can look at different ways of avoiding redundancies. And I advocate quite clearly, and have done it over the past few videos, that we engage in consultation with workforces, no matter how large the workforce, no matter how many people are at risk of redundancy, that we engage as soon as possible. The reasons for that engagement are so that we can look to ways of avoiding redundancy, which is what the legal requirements on consultation are about. It's about how we can avoid redundancies. Now that might include different ways of working. And again, we've discussed this kind of thing in videos over the past few months. How we can look at different ways of working that would reduce employer costs and might reduce employee hours, but will create a workforce that is able to cope with the challenges of the near and distant futures in the world of employment. How we can look to take a positive from this massive negative is by looking at how we can improve our skills, our confidence, our competence to cope with the challenges that face us in the future. As I said before, I've been made redundant a couple of times in my life, and it is one awful situation to be in, especially if that redundancy has been conducted badly by the employer. In one case, it was conducted extremely badly by my employer, and I left absolutely devastated. In another, it was conducted very positively by the employer. Lots of discussion, lots of engagement. What can we do? How can we help? How can we look for the future? How can we find other employment within the company if possible? All these kinds of things that made it that I left feeling not like I'd been divorced, not like I'd been kicked to the curb, more like I was leaving some friends and they would be friends in the future. And it was the case. It was the case. The previous one, where I'd been made redundant, it was rather brutal. It was like I'd been kicked, I'd been pushed down, and I'd been kicked in the head. The emotional and psychological impact was really quite damning. And what I want to say to you as smaller employers is that you're more likely to know your employees a little better than the larger employers know their employees. You will know them by name, you will know them personally, you will know a lot about them. And so you need to be engaging them as best as you possibly can. And believe me, you might find that they are much more flexible in what they can and will do to keep your business afloat. So think about that. Now I want to return a little to the negative issues of redundancy in terms of the individual, the people that are likely to be made redundant or facing the risk of being made redundant, and the emotional and psychological draining that takes place there. And I want to talk a bit about occupational health within employment. Now, a recent survey by the Society of Occupational Medicine shows that something like 50% of employees in this country do not have access to occupational health services. Now, I've worked for the larger organisations, I've worked for FTSE 100 companies, and I've worked for councils, and they have occupational health availability. They don't do that for the fun of it. They do that because it is worthwhile. It helps them to reduce sickness levels where possible. It helps reduce the number of days taken sick. It helps them to look at how they can improve their working conditions so that people are less likely to be taking sick leave. Now, I know that for a lot of small to medium-sized organisations and companies, they're going to be thinking, well, this is an expense, it's an expense we can't afford. Now, there is pressure being put on the government to make it universally available. And there's research going on, and consultations began last year by the government under a heading of "Health is everyone's business." Now, the publication of the outcome of that consultation is yet to happen. We don't know what's happened, but what we do know is that occupational health specialists and professionals have contributed to that. And what they're looking at is better access to occupational health provision. As we speak, there is a study being undertaken which is being led by Keele University into the practicalities of occupational health services being delivered by GP surgeries. Now, all of this is in the pipeline, as it were. But what I want you to consider as employers is the relevance of this kind of thing to your organisation, to your company. And in particular, start thinking about, as I say, when people are returning into the workplace, as people have been doing, and when people are returning to a workplace where there are potentials for redundancies and definitely changes in the way that we work and how many days we work a week and all these kinds of things. All these things create an uncertainty, a mental and an emotional uncertainty. And I think it's important that as ethical employers and people that work for small to medium-sized companies, it's important that we're aware of these issues. It's important that we think about how people are going to be emotionally and mentally prepared to come back into the workplace. And here is an opportunity for the smaller organisations to be sympathetic, sensitive, empathetic with the employees. So let's think about how we can make the workplace more welcoming, how we can make sure that if we are going to be talking about redundancies and changes to the way that we work, that we talk inclusively, that we engage the workforce as best as we can, that we look at how we can improve from what we've got, knowing that we're going to be starting from a very, very difficult position. We know that we're looking at a difficult future. The immediate future is going to be very, very difficult. And as we come out of that, remember also that in 6 months or so, we are going to be leaving the EU completely. Everything is going to be changing. The future is uncertain, and we have to be prepared for that uncertainty. The best way that we as employers and we as employees can be prepared is to be more flexible, be more competent, be more capable, be more trained for all eventualities. And we're not going to do that by salami slicing our workforce, getting rid of people, losing that talent, those skills, that level of employment that we've got now, those levels of employees that we've got now, those standards. We're not going to succeed in the future if we just abandon them. It's not going to happen. The more included they are in deciding that future, in working on those changes, the stronger we will all be as we face the very difficult challenges that we've got in the immediate, not too distant, and long-term futures. Now, I want to thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and ask you once again to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just click that button that says subscribe, and you'll get these videos as soon as they are posted. If you get these videos via Facebook, via my Facebook postings, Please like and share, it would be greatly appreciated. And as we speak, I am writing the next book, which is about employee relations, where we will be looking in much more detail at things like occupational health, managing sickness and absence, making it so that we can reduce the numbers of days that are taken sick, and making sure that our workforces are consulted. That book should be available by the end of this year, and I look forward to talking about those subjects as I develop them during the writing of that book. Thanks once again, and see you soon. Bye bye.